Christian education. Um, is that not an oxymoron in many cases? The more I've been involved in Christian education at various levels, I have been tempted to say that what is called Christian education, known as Christian education, really isn't. Just take a university, for example. Um, Typically, church-related Christian universities and colleges are virtually the same as secular schools down the street, except for, in most instances, church-related institutions. The faculty are all from one church, the staff are all from that same church, the students usually come from that same church, and so forth. That's certainly less of a model today than it once was, but everybody was basically on the same page doctrinally and came from the same church fellowship. And then you had stricter than normal dorm rules. You couldn't have cohabitation in the dorms like some of the secular schools would allow. You had required Bible courses in addition to all the other academic courses you were studying. And you had required daily chapel, typically. And that's what made a Christian university. But sadly, when you get into the classroom and you start thinking about the word education, there was hardly any connection in English, math, history, science, art with anything necessarily Christian. So I've been on a bandwagon for many, many years trying to get somebody to grasp the concept of a university or college, even high school and junior high, where we would think Christianly about English, think Christianly about math, think Christianly about science. And I've had a tremendous challenge trying to get that concept across to people. What is it to think Christianly about all these things? And in the simplest way, there's a wonderful scripture talking about Jesus talking about the master who brings things out of the storehouse that had not been seen before. And I think that if Jesus were teaching English, he wouldn't have taught it in the same way that we teach it. If he were teaching music or math, he wouldn't teach it like we teach it. I think there'd be insights there that could be shared. I know as a law professor, it's a little bit easier because I was teaching criminal law, and that dovetails nicely with the laws of Moses and so forth, and moral laws. You can talk about that. But even in engineering and math and science and music and art and so forth, if there's a teacher who knows about the kingdom and is willing to think about it hard enough, there is a way to teach that in a way that is not like it would be taught at a secular school. I'm afraid that many of our teachers think that what it means to have classroom education in a Christian university is to start off with a scripture reading or start off with a prayer. And a lot of people satisfied themselves that they were Christian professors because they did that. But that's not really Christian education. And whether we're talking about the label Christian education or education in general, do we have anything to fear from education? Well, that's a yes-no answer. We don't, in the sense that all education, being the pursuit of facts and truth, has nothing to fear from being exposed and looked at and discovered. There's nothing about education inherently that should be a cause of concern to anybody. Sadly, however, there is much about the educational system that we do have to fear these days in particular in church-related schools, because many of our professors have become so secularized in their thinking, most of them having gone to secular schools to get their advanced degrees. They've been affected by secularism in ways that they are now bringing into the so-called Christian education classroom. And so we have much to fear, even among our sister schools in the church, because they are no longer faithful to the idea of evolutionary creation is the new form of thinking, as opposed to divine creation. In effect, what they're teaching is Darwinism. That we have much to fear from that. We have much to fear from Christian education that highlights how much you can make by having this particular career, so that your goals are solely materialistic. You're not out there trying to serve humankind, no matter what the salary might be. There is much arrogance attached to higher education in particular. Paul talks about those who thinking themselves to be wise have become fools. Well, that's attaches to both professors and graduate students in particular, who get a little bit above their station and think that they are something special when really they are not. So there are things to be feared about education and higher education in particular. But the main thing is, I just wish that we could begin to see that true Christian education is a lot more than just the add-on options, but that there is something at the core that could be fundamentally different if we took Christ into the classroom for real.